What's up everyone, I'm Andrea, your real life English fluency coach, and in today's lesson we are going to be learning words and expressions to describe your English level. So if you love learning English, then you're probably talking about it a lot, and chances are you have many friends and acquaintances that are also learning it. So it's something you have in common and something you're probably likely to talk about. This means that learning new words to describe your English is a good idea, don't you think? So rather than just using the usual words like good, bad, beginner, intermediate and advanced, today we're going to learn some more colourful language and vocabulary that's going to help you to describe your English and the English of others. But before we get into it, and in case you're new here, we are here to guide you beyond the classroom to live and learn and speak English in the real world. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell down below so that you don't miss a single one of our new lessons. So first of all, let's start off more at the beginner stage, or maybe where you are someone that needs to work on your English a little bit more. You shouldn't describe your English as bad, and you definitely shouldn't describe anyone else's English as bad. I mean, first of all, English, we are known for being very polite and speaking in a way that's very polite with good manners too. So it's not really something that we would do. And there are better words to describe this kind of level if you need to work on your English. So rudimentary is another way of saying basic or not so developed. So if you were to describe someone's English in this way, we would tend to think of someone with maybe more of a strong or thick accent. Now, what we mean by having a thick or a strong accent is someone that is speaking English with more of a tone and a sound of their native language. So one person that springs to mind who speaks excellent English, but she does have more of a strong accent, is Sofia Vergara.
We were talking very good about you.
But aside from accent, rudimentary also means that this person maybe is less able to express their ideas and their thoughts. So they have more of a basic level to express some basic ideas and thoughts here. So you could say, when I started speaking English, my speaking was rudimentary. Now, if someone has poorly spoken or written English, then we might describe it as broken English. However, it's important to consider that this isn't used as much because some people might take offense to it. I can imagine you and many other people would not really want someone to describe their English as broken. However, we use this as a way to describe when the speaker is not really connecting their sentences very well. They might be using grammar rules from their native language, and so this is why it's described more as broken. It's like piecing some parts together to be able to communicate, but not really speaking fluently. Another way to describe your English is to say that you're rusty. So rusty literally means oxidized. So you might think of some metal rusting when it's been left out for a very long time, or it gets wet and then is left out and it gets oxidized. But it is a way of describing your language speaking where maybe you haven't really been practicing very much. So for example, sometimes when I don't speak Greek very much, my Greek gets rusty because I'm now living in Barcelona and I speak English most of the day, and then I also speak Spanish. So then when I speak to family members on the phone in Greek, I'm actually thinking in Spanish a lot more. So my Greek is a bit rusty and it takes me a little time just to get back into the practice with it. So when you don't practice enough, you can start to get rusty, meaning that you forget words. Sometimes you can become tongue-tied. And this goes for anything, not even just language learning. If you're really good at something, but then you're out of practice, so you're not really doing it that much anymore, then you become rusty at it. So it could be any type of activity, really. You might also describe your English as limited or poor, which are quite self-explanatory, but basically means that you still have some work to do. Now, if it's really bad, it sucks, or it's terrible could also be ways to describe it. But as I mentioned before, English is a polite language, so you really have to think about the context here and whether or not it's the right time to use one of these words. For example, you might say, when I first moved to the US, my English sucked, or my English was terrible. And if you want to say the opposite, you might say that it was terrific. Okay, so moving on to some ways to describe now where your English is a little bit better, we are going to have a look first at all right. So all right is used to describe something that is not so good and not so bad. So it's somewhere there in the middle. You probably do okay, but it maybe could be better. You might also describe your English as conversational. So that means that it's good enough for conversation. How about you? Is your English conversational? Let me know down in the comments below. An expression to describe this is that you can get your point across. So if your English is conversational, it means that you can somewhat communicate, so you can get the meaning across, you can get the point across, but maybe it's not so clear and it's not so well thought out. But what it does mean is that you can understand what someone is trying to say to you, and they can probably understand what you are trying to say to them. So you can hold a conversation, which is a really great achievement. Another great way of describing your English is to say that you get by. So if you move to an English-speaking country, you'll probably need to know enough English to just get by at least. So that means, again, that you can understand certain things and you can communicate certain ideas. That's just enough for you to get things that you want to get done. A word that would express the total opposite of this would be hopeless. So if, for example, you suddenly found yourself living in an English-speaking country and you knew no English at all, you might say that your English was hopeless, meaning you had no hope of communicating. Now, to hold one's own means that you are competent. So if you say that I held my own, it means that you were able to communicate what you wanted to, maybe with little instruction as well and practice. So you have enough knowledge to get by in a way, and also to have the confidence and the security to hold your own, to be able to communicate what you want to say. Now, if you want to take your English from rudimentary or just from holding your own to excellent, then I highly recommend our Real Life Native Immersion course. This 41-week course will take you on a real-life adventure of the English language, each week exploring a different topic connected to our goal, to help you understand and use real native English and make it a permanent part of your life in a way that is fun, natural, and convenient. And the best part is you can try it right now for free with our 3-part power learning series. All you have to do is click up here or down in the description box below to learn more and sign up now. So now we're moving on to describing your English more as excellent. So this is where you have some great English skills that you want to share. And the first way to describe this is impressive. So something impressive is quite extraordinary really, and something that you might want to share with people and show off and communicate. You might even describe your English as proficient or highly proficient, meaning that you have a really good command of the language. So you probably don't have any problems in communicating or doing anything that you want to do with the language. If your English is proficient and you're an advanced speaker, then you are probably fluent in all 4 areas, and by that I mean in speaking, listening, reading and writing. Now, if you've mastered English, it means that you feel totally comfortable with the language in all situations that you might come across. And if your English is flawless, it means that it's probably nearly perfect or very, very close to perfect, meaning that you make hardly any mistakes. Now, if you're articulate or eloquent, it means that you can express your ideas clearly in speaking and in writing. Now, even some native speakers are not eloquent or articulate, so these 2 words mean the same thing. And it means also that you might be really fluent in English, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are articulate or eloquent. So these words really go beyond the context of language, because it's not just about being a fluent English speaker or writer. It's all about the way that you speak, the way that you communicate, and doing that clearly and effectively. Another one is native-like. So this one is quite self-explanatory, because if your English is native-like, it means that it's as good as that of a native speaker. So if you have ambitions to speak more like a native, or you even want to understand natives better, I highly recommend this lesson that I made, all about connected speech, which really is the key to understanding natives. So you can click up here or down in the description box below to watch that lesson next. Now, someone might ask you, how is your English coming along? And you might say it's coming along well, or it's come a long way. And that means that you've made a lot of progress along the way. So maybe not so long ago, or however long you've been studying the language, you started off right at the beginning maybe, but you've put in the effort, you've put in the work, and it's come a long way. So that means that you've made really good progress and you've come to a really good point. Now, whenever you start a learning endeavour, you're going to make a lot of progress in the beginning, but then what usually happens at some point is all learners reach a plateau. So this is the way that we pronounce this word, plateau. So this means that your progress will stop or really slow down. So most people get to this level sometimes even before they reach the conversational level, and maybe they give up and stop. But if you have that fight in you, or you have a great teacher, or you find more creative ways of learning, you definitely can pass that plateau to keep making progress. Another great way to describe your English is to say that you need to brush up on. So if you need to brush up on your English, it means that it's probably a little bit rusty and you need to do some things quickly to make some quick progress to get it back to the level that it should be or that you were at before. So for example, you might say, oh, I need to brush up on my English before I move to Ireland. Some ways that people describe their English as well is that they say, I picked it up. So if you pick up a language, it means that when you immerse yourself in the language, you pick it up very quickly. So just by listening and being immersed in the language, you pick things up and you don't necessarily need to study very thoroughly. So I know, for example, in my first year here in Spain, when I first moved here, I focused on my new job, the new country I was living, but as I was immersed in the culture and immersed in the language, I picked up lots of vocabulary, grammar points, and other things as well. So this is a great way to describe this aspect of learning as well. So if you are out and about, you pick up lots of vocabulary, lots of language, lots of cues as well, and this can also help you in your language journey. So there you have it, lots of ways to describe your English, and now I'm really curious, so how would you describe your English? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you all soon. So there are 4 topics of connected speech that we are going to take a look at in today's lesson, and they are weak forms, intrusion and linking, elision and assimilation. Now don't worry if you don't understand any of these words. I think as a learner it's important to be aware of them, but you don't have to know these exact terms.